I'm an abolitionist, so I'm trying to abolish abortion.
So you care about unborn children?
Yes.
And you believe abortion is wrong?
Yes.
And you want there to be less abortion in the world?
Yes.
What's being done?
Yeah, no abortion.
Right. None would be ideal. But if you really, honestly wanted that, you would be supporting more contraception.
No, actually, most contraceptives have
No,
the ability. They have the ability to murder kids.
They do not.
Hormonal birth control murders children,
No,
ma'am.
it does not.
It does. It thins the lining of the uterus, so it's less likely that the child will attach, and then the child dies.
Did you know that 70%? No, thank you. Did you know that 70% of the zygotes that are formed, the fertilized eggs that are formed in a woman's body, if you have a woman,
You might want to get out of the street.
on any form of birth control who is healthy and fertile and is having unprotected sex, did you know that 70% of those fertilized eggs never implant?
A lot of children naturally die, but we're talking about intentional murder. We're talking about putting your children at risk.
Did you know that being on hormonal birth control actually reduces the number of zygotes that die?
Well,
why would you need to be on birth control in the first place?
Did you know that being on hormonal birth control reduces the number of zygotes that die?
I don't think there's any reason why you should have anything that prevents a potential that prevents from
No, it's zygote.
that
Until it
prevents
implants.
that prevents a child who might attach from not and then dying. Like if you're intentionally putting that in your body, you're intentionally putting children at risk. Like it's not up to us who attaches and who doesn't. You know, that's up to God. You know.
And we are supposed to be good stewards of the resources God has given us. We are supposed to take the best care of ourselves, of the world, of the people around us, of the poor among us that we can. And one of the best ways to help women who are poor get ahead and establish themselves in the world is for them to not get pregnant until they're ready to support that child.
Well, if they do get pregnant, they should love that child. But we shouldn't put things in our bodies that prevent children from living where they need to live and killing them.
This has been shown. There is huge amounts of evidence for this. The best way to reduce the number of abortions that happens is to provide free or reduced cost contraception.
But that contraception kills people.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
They're
It does.
not alive until they implant. The body doesn't even know it's pregnant. There is no pregnancy.
No, you're alive at conception. You begin at conception, and you need to live and grow through every stage of life, and that includes attaching.
And like I said, birth control reduces the number of fertilized eggs that are dying.
But if they can't attach, it doesn't really matter because it's preventing them. It's preventing them from living through all the stages of life. So it's killing them. It's murdering them.
It's a moot point because hormonal contraception makes the risk of there being an egg to fertilize extremely low.
Okay.
There's almost never going to be an egg to fertilize when you're on hormonal contraception.
But there are times when it doesn't work.
You need to put that warning in that it might prevent it from implanting
because it doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. So sometimes children are created and then they can't attach and then they die.
Yeah, but would you rather have like 70% of them die? Would you rather have like so many of them die, or would you rather have almost none? Like have them not even formed in the first place?
A lot of children are going to die. They're going to die naturally, but there's a.
Or what type or hormone?
I'm saying all contraceptives.
Diaphragms, what?
All contraceptives that change the hormones so that the lining of the uterus is no longer hospitable for children, so that they can't live in the home where they need to live in the first months of life. So you're shutting the door in their face, leaving them out in the cold to die in the snow, basically. That's what you're doing to your kids.
The hormonal contraception, or
Yeah, because
all
no,
contraception.
I'm not-
the way
I'm
you're
not
wording that is
saying-
just fear mongering because
No, I wouldn't say fear mongering. I would say that not explaining.
It's true.
It's a
It's
biological
entire-
fact. You
yeah,
might
it is.
I'm
But
s-
it's an exaggeration
No.
because it's not
No,
that
it
it
really isn't.
thins the lining; it's that it prevents the lining from ever thickening, which is different. It's not that it takes
Except the
something.
result is the same.
No, it's not taking
The
something that
baby
was
can't attach
hospitable
into
and
the
making
uterus,
it.
and so it is.
No,
The
it
baby-
makes.
There's no baby in the
And a
first place.
fertilized egg is a baby.
There's no
Science will tell
egg
you
to
that.
release. There's no egg to be fertilized.
No, there are many times when an egg is released and fertilized, not allowed to grow, and flushed out.
It makes it inhospitable. The
That
uterus is
a fact.
inhospitable.
That is a fact.
The body does that naturally.
It does.
You're doing it. It's just like, yeah, sometimes I would die of a heart attack, but if someone comes and shoots me, somebody else did that to me. And
That's
if you're doing
because-
that, then you're doing it to somebody else.
Yep.
Same thing. Morality, same thing.
Yep.
That's not
body doesn't
similar
do that
morality. That's
naturally. You don't
very
take
much a.
You kill
Yes, it
somebody,
does.
whether it's in
That's-
the room, when
Right,
they're
that's
in the
naturally.
room,
but-
or they're standing on the street. It's a death. It's a murder.
Yes, there's-
Yeah, because that's an
It's a death.
infringement
However,
of your
that
human
morality
rights.
logic
So the
though
baby has a
is
human right to live too,
candle and
sweetie.
sunlight.
And I have a human
yeah, they
right
go
in
by,
my
but they're
body.
not
Yes,
the
you
exact
do, but
same.
yet it's not your
They're not
body.
comparable.
It is
so,
still
I have two sons. They were not my body.
No.
They were their own bodies living in my body, just like you lived in your mother's house and I lived in my mother's house when I was an infant.
Yep.
There is no difference except place and location.
Okay, I have
Development
some
is the only thing
for
that
each
happens.
of you.
What's your question?
So, the hormonal contraceptions, you're saying thins the line,
No, it
thins the lining
doesn't.
of
It
it,
prevents the lining from thickening.
prevents the lining from thickening in the first place.
Mhm.
Of what is the possibility of an egg being attached anyway, and what is the possibility beyond that of the hormonal contraception actually, as this gentleman was saying, having the egg fertilized, but then the body not being able to actually sustain it and it being flushed out on a woman's period
You're saying with and without the birth control?
with birth control. I mean, what is
Okay,
the
so with-
possibility
okay.
of an egg trying to attach or attaching without the thickened uterine wall?
Okay, so without the birth control, the majority of the eggs that are fertilized will never attach.
100%.
What? I'm just saying without the birth control.
Okay.
About somewhere between 50 to 70% of the eggs that are fertilized are not going to attach.
Okay.
Of the ones that do attach, the body does not register the pregnancy until that egg implants. The body does not start producing hormones. The body has no idea that egg is there until it implants. Once it implants, this is under normal circumstances with no birth control. Again, a large percentage of those implanted early pregnancies are going to miscarry before the woman's even aware that she's pregnant. So we're talking a large number of fertilized eggs and fetuses that you just never know exist.
Okay, so that's the natural norm.
This natural normal
With the
pregnancy.
hormonal.
And with that, like, I just have to ask, like, how am I supposed to think that there's... That just seems like an awful lot of waste on the part of God if those are all individual human lives. So that's just with the natural, without any birth control. With hormonal birth control, such as the pill or the hormonal IUD, the egg is never develops. There's no egg released, and so there's almost no chance of there being a fertilized egg.
There still is a chance, though.
I said almost no chance. If there does happen to be an egg, the hormonal contraceptions then prevent the sperm from reaching the egg. So in the very small chance that there's an egg, there's almost no chance that it will be fertilized. And
It might be a good idea to step a little further out of the road.
in the very small chance that it's fertilized, there's nowhere for it to implant, and it, like all of those other eggs, will just pass away.
Okay. So my question for you is, do you agree with any contraception? Or are you your personal opinion?
Personally, I would never use contraception. I'm mainly addressing murder. You know, like I'm here to address murder today.
Okay.
You know, that's
So,
a very privileged
question-
viewpoint to be able to never use contraception, because I'm assuming, like, if you were to have a child, you would be able to support it, and if you were to father a child, it would not directly threaten your health.
Well, I'm saying if you're gonna have sex, you'd better be ready to have to take care of a child.
Do you know how many women get pregnant from rape every year?
Um,
Thousands thousands of women in the U.S. every year get pregnant from rape. They did not choose to have sex.
Sure. And they have no right to murder their children.
But they do have every right to be on contraception.
No, they don't, because their contraception could murder the children.
So, here's a question. So you were saying that an unfertilized egg would constitute life?
No, I'm not saying
an egg fertilize and start dividing. You're saying, because you're using the term murder, and murder would imply to me anyway that it would be a life that already exists.
Yes, a human being life.
As in, like,
an embryo.
Fertilization, exactly, thank you.
That's a human being, yes.
But before that, how does that constitute as murder?
I'm not saying that destroying eggs is murder, because it's not.
Okay.
They're not human beings.
Okay. So what you're saying is murder would be the whatever.
Preventing children from living where they need to live in the first stages of life.
And by children, you mean a fertilized zygote that is about 4 cells.
Yes, a very small human being. Don't discriminate against them based on their age. Treat them the same way you would treat me or him.
Not a human being yet.
It is a human being. It's not a lizard.
So
it's not a goat. It's not an elephant. It's a human being.
It's the seed of a human being.
No, it's a human being.
I don't believe life begins before implantation.
Well, that's denying basic scientific biology.
Without any sort of a contraception, when would that be?
When that egg implants in the uterine lining.
Okay.
I would say
That's your arbitrary standard.
That's the medical standard of when pregnancy begins.
Sure, they can call it pregnancy, but it's not life.
the cell, even if it's 4 cells,
It has the potential to become a human being.
DNA.
It's already a human being.
Human DNA.
A new human being begins at conception. That's what conception is. You are a new human being coming into existence.
Well, you want to know what else? I assume y'all are Christians.
Yeah, are you?
I am.
Not anymore. I used to be.
Easy.
But
Okay, it's a martyr.
the Bible says, Jesus said, they will know you're Christians by your love.
Yep.
Do you think your actions here make anyone feel loved?
Well, when people are trying to murder their
Do you
kids,
answer my question?
they're not going to feel loved
Answer
when...
my question.
She has a good value.
Sure, I am answering your question. I am. So, no, people are not going to feel loved when they're about to murder someone, and we confront them about it, and we rebuke them, and we call on them to not murder their child when they really want to murder their child.
Why
They're
do
not
you
going to
think
feel
women
loved.
come here? They're not cold-blooded murderers.
there's a
Why
good
do you
point,
think
and-
women come here?
They come here because they are selfish.
No.
They had sex, but they don't want to take responsibility for
No,
the sex
you are
that they
wrong.
had, and they want to murder their child. They want to
You
get
are
rid of that
wrong.
child.
You're saying that they're not going to feel loved. However, speak the truth in love.
We should. We should.
We are supposed to. I mean, the Word of God is proper for teaching, correcting, rebuking, and training in righteousness. However, what good is that truth? What good is the Spirit of God who dwells within us if we're not actually
You're
speaking
supposed
in
to
love
make
in
the
the
Yes.
first
gospel
place?
winsome.
We
So
should.
there's a difference between yelling in somebody's face and saying and calling. I mean,
Well, we can't walk up to them and talk to
almost
them because we'd be
confrontational.
arrested for trespass. You know.
Sometimes they're 300 yards away and you want to be heard. How are you going to reach them?
no, I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm talking like this one-on-one conversation.
Obedience is our duty.
there-
The results belong to God. Okay. Now,
No, what
when
I'm
somebody,
saying
if the people choose to repent, that's the Holy Spirit working on them. We're here
But
to be messengers.
It's
We're
the
messengers
overall
in love.
approach. Her
Everybody-
question
Go back to-
was.
go back to what you
Everybody
said.
that stands
Her-
here loves their neighbors. Everybody here that's here today loves the mothers who is going inside. We love the children who are about to be murdered. All that is motivated by love. We're motivated by love of justice,
I don't
by
know what
love
definition
for
of the word love you're
love for
using, but it's
God
not
and
one
love
I
for our
know.
neighbor.
But what she's saying is.
Now,
what
why do
she's
you
saying-
think? No, go back. Women do not. Do you think women just wake up one day and they're like, "Oh, I know what I'm gonna do. Let me murder some babies today."
Yes, that's
No.
exactly what they're
No.
saying. They're saying,
No.
I'm going to
You're
I'm going to get rid of the child inside my body, the
Women
thing
come
that's
here
growing
because they are
inside my
desperate.
body.
They come here because they have no idea where to turn. They come here because their families will not accept them if they have a baby.
No,
they
they-
come here because they will lose their jobs. They come here because if they have a baby, their health is going to be put at risk and they might die. They come here because if they have a baby, they might go deaf.
And they use- and-
you do legitimately put the woman's life at risk is
Huge amount of risk.
right, but the percentage of pregnancies that actually do threaten the life of the mother, statistically, I mean, infinitesimal by comparison.
But what we're talking
all
about
pregnancies
is
versus
why people come here.
That's
numbers.
true.
So,
As far as why
I'm not
people
picking
come
sides
here,
here.
no,
but
I want to answer something. I'm from Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I just did a research. 70% of the children murdered by abortion were murdered simply because they were not wanted. This is by
The majority,
a pro-abortion.
yeah.
This is by a pro-abortion poll.
And let me try to answer another part of your question. There are some ministries that try to help women that are in that situation, because you are completely right. Many women, they are in a desperate situation. You are completely right.
Sorry,
But
Miguel.
there are some ministries
Matt.
that
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
they help women. They help these women. They have a place for them where to stay. They offer them the possibility of giving the child in adoption. So it's a many levels, it's a many layers.
I know crisis pregnancy centers exist. I used to volunteer at one. But
So that's
now,
one of the
if you really
loving
want
parts.
to lower the amount of abortion, the state of Colorado had an experiment where they funded long-term contraception for women who were not ready to support a child, and the abortion rate in that state went down by an unprecedented amount.
You're not counting the number murdered by birth control.
We've already discussed that, and I've
Yeah.
told you my position on it.
Yeah, and you're
Now-
ignoring it.
So
As I said,
did the government help?
it was a private donor.
Private donor?
What are most people are fornicating? That's a huge problem. That's sin against God.
It's none of your business.
No, it is.
No, it's not.
I
your business.
call
It's
people
between
to
them
turn to
and
Jesus
God.
Christ. No, people need to, if they continue fornicating, they're going to go to hell. I need to tell them about hell and warn
If they
them.
want you to. If not, you stay.
No,
out of their damn
God
business.
commands me to make disciples. So I go and I reach people with the truth and I tell them they can't be reconciled to
Did you
God
realize how
if they
the
continue in fornication.
discipleship,
That discipleship
directive was
was
actually
totally voluntary.
one-on-one. It was a close, intimate connection.
Then why did Philip go and preach in the public?
There's preaching, and then there's the making of.
Let's move out of the road.
There's preaching and sharing the gospel, and then there's the making of disciples. Those
Sure.
are two entirely different commands.
Sure.
Related, but they're different.
Well, you can't make disciples unless they first hear the truth that you preach to them, right? They have to hear so they can have faith.
So the truth to be preached is Jesus is Lord, not your murdering.
Well, no, when people are murdering children, they need to be confronted so that the children can be saved. If you see somebody strangling a 3-year-old, you don't be like, oh,
So if-
cool,
if we're
do whatever you
arguing-
want.
if
No,
we're- if
you
we're-
speak up for that
if we're arguing
child.
Scripture, the natural man does not understand the things of the spirit, nor can he, because they are spiritually discerned.
Sure.
So coming at someone with a spiritual truth of you're murdering your children because